decided to come and watch this live about erectile medications. And my point of view on this is that there is a cure and the medication is a band-aid. And a long time ago, I was having dinner with my two children. And at the dinner table, one of them asked if they could have money for some kind of extracurricular activity or band or something. And I said, no, I really can't afford that. And then she began to go off in a tirade that said, well, if you weren't spending $5,000 on dick drugs, you'd be able to afford what I'm asking. And I was shocked. And I said to myself, well, I didn't say it to myself. I said it to her. I said, where'd you come up with that? She says, well, it's right there on your blotter. And I said, okay, I'll check into it. So we finished the meal, and then after the meal, I immediately raced into my office, and sure enough, on the blotter on my desk, there were all of these dick drugs that were being outlined on the blotter, written word for word. And you have to remember, back in the 90s, they didn't have these spam block programs. They didn't have, you had to write out each name and make sure that it was spelled correctly the way that they were spamming you. And then you had to put that in a certain area in your computer in order to block anything that had that. And of course, those individuals were very creative, and the next day you'd have 500 more. But yes, I had probably 20 of those written down right next to my blotter. But because I'm involved in investments and real estate, and I had been talking to somebody on the phone, and I typically did my notes right there on the blotter in order to figure out whether or not it was a deal or no deal. Well, sure enough, I had itemized out all of the repairs, what the initial investment was, what the cost of acquisition, what the cost of everything, and I had underlined and circled $5,000. And at that point, I knew immediately how she got that information. So I began to break it down for her, and that was to tell her that if I spent $5,000 a year, that meant that I was taking at least 3 a day. And if they lasted for 4 hours, that means every day, 5 days a week, I would be walking around with a 12-hour erection. And of course, that kind of brought some humor to the table, but nonetheless, it was a rather interesting meal. So what I want to express to you is that the way these drugs work is that there's a natural chemical that gives the penis erect, and that's nitric oxide. Now, they do sell that over the counter, and I am aware that many people use that, sniff it, in order to be able to get an erection. So, is that healthy? I'm kind of a natural kind of guy. I'm not really interested in experimenting with drugs in order to be able to get an erection. I'm kind of old school, I maintain my blood flow, I exercise, I have healthy eating habits. And what I want to explain is that when you use these medications such as Viagra, Cialis, Alfin, which is Stendra, and sildenafil, which is Viagra, Tadalafil, which is Cialis, Vardenafil, which is Levitra. How about that? How about butchering that? Or Staxin. Well, each one of these drugs has side effects. More importantly, your body becomes used to it, and you need more and more and more and more, which means that the probability of your cost of your maintenance of your genitals goes up dramatically. Now, there's plenty of men that when they first try this drug that it doesn't even go for, start and actually work for them. So you've got to realize that typically men are going to build up a tolerance to it. And when the tolerance is built up to a certain level, you're going to spend more money on these drugs because you've got to up the dose. But more importantly, you're going to have to go to the doctor. And when you go to the doctor, that's a cost. So my suggestion is to start looking for the cure. Well, understand that these medications for erectile dysfunction If you happen to be taking nitrate drugs, and those are like nitrostatin or nitroglycerin for your heart, and isobide mononitrate, uh, or you have very low blood pressure or hypertension or severe liver disease or kidney disease that requires dialysis, you cannot take this drug. And if you think, well, I can take it once, well, you shouldn't be going down that road because of the way these drugs work. Now, let's talk about those side effects. Well, I know plenty of guys that had used Viagra and said, man, as soon as I took it, I got this huge headache, which didn't make me want to have sex. And then there was flushing, and we talked about indigestion. And then my favorite is that you have visual changes. You could go blind, or you get back pain, or you get a stuffy or runny nose. Well, the ones that I really like are that you're not going to be able to hear, and you're not going to be able to see, and if your erection doesn't go down on its own, then you're going to have a needle stuck in it, and that's not a good idea. So, what do we need for a cure? Well, there are plenty of cures out here. Natural cures, lifestyle, stop smoking, get out and exercise to get the blood flow to your crotch. There's Reiki healing, Kabbalah healing. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's lifestyle changes. And you're going, I don't want to do that. Well, guess what? If you don't want to do that, then the chances of you getting cured for erectile dysfunction is very low. A lot of the erectile dysfunction is right between your ears. It's a psychosis. There's plenty of good people out there. I've done lives on shrinks. You can go to mach1coach.com and I'll be there and we can talk. You can also go to the Mach 1 Facebook page and I can talk to you there, join it, and we can go through some different scenarios. There's a lot of good information on that Facebook page. But here's the bottom line. You can't kick the can down the road forever. Mental illness, psychosis does not go away. It just becomes more and more and more enhanced. If you have a great diagnosis that shows and demonstrates that you have a leakage, that you have a physical problem such as the medication for your heart, for your kidneys, for your liver, those are excellent reasons why you're going to have erectile dysfunction. Until you get off those medications, you're going to still have that problem. But it's the other way. The psychosis, those are the ones that I want to be able to talk to you about. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to hearing from you. You have a great day.